Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Show. We are here. If you recognize, we're not in this studio. We are in Virginia Beach at the Ironclad studio. Ironclad's our production partner, and we're here filming the Shadow Figures TV show that you may have seen us talking about. We are next to GBRS Global Battlefield Research Solutions, and we happen to also be here with one of the founders of GBRS, Cole Fackler, who's a former Navy SEAL and also a member of Naval Special Warfare Development Group. And super honored to be able to sit down here with you in your hometown and talk to you about your life, your career, GBRS. And before we get going, I want to read your bio for the audience, those who may or may not know you. If you hadn't followed GBRS and some of the work they do and some of the products they carry, incredible company. And Cole took us out to visit it today, and nothing makes me happier than seeing a veteran be super successful transitioning, but just to run a company and guys who have served, especially operators that have served and just poured out their sweat and blood and so much for this country, and then turn around and transition out and just have such success. So it made me super pumped to see what you guys are doing, and we're real proud of you guys. So Cole Fackler is the co-founder of GBRS Group. Has a unique personal story from enlisting in the United States military at a young age and becoming an elite U.S. Navy SEAL assigned to SEAL Team 10 and Naval Special Warfare Development Group. He served for 17 years and was medically retired in 2020 due to injuries sustained from his intense combat deployment schedule. He is a husband and a proud father of 4. As a co-founder of GBRS Group, he also serves as the Chief Executive Officer. Again, Cole, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and giving us a tour of GBRS. It was super cool to meet all your staff and see what you guys have going there. I'm a little jealous of the gym. The gym was probably the highlight. Well, the gym and the armory. So.
Well, no, I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Super stoked. I know we met back at the SHOT Show, so glad we could sit down.
Yeah, we had dinner with Andrew Beto, who is actually flying here tonight. He's gonna be in the Shadow Figure show. We're gonna blow some stuff up this week. Hopefully we don't blow ourselves up. But,
yeah. Looking forward to seeing him.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into your background and history, but let's start off talking a little bit about GBRS, the company. I mean, what do you guys do? I know you do a lot of different things, but overall, what do you guys do?
So current day GBRS, there's a few different verticals, but kind of the founding one was always training.
Yeah.
And passing on kind of our knowledge that we learned while we were in to the next generation, so they didn't have to learn the same lessons in blood that we did, and really just be able to enable and kind of pass on the wisdom to those people that put their lives on the line every day for us and the freedom that we get. And also do some civilian courses.
Yeah.
And that's a great kind of community that's created. We design products based off our experience and really try and solve and make those products better for the end user, whether it's a entry-level beginner or a super high-end tier 1 agency, you name it, and make sure that those products we believe will enable them and function 100% of the time, every time, for the people that put their lives online. We also have a workout subscription app. Got Vernon Griffith, that's amazing. Top tactical athlete coach for the last at least 2 years in a row. And long story with Vernon, but he's helped DJ and I and a number of people just stay at a high level of performing even with injuries, and work out, and then do a Patreon subscription as well. Pass on kind of that knowledge through that platform, and kind of whatever gets thrown at us a little bit. Some collaborations, just try and have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's amazing. For those that don't know, and we're gonna get into your background, what you bring to the table, just having a career at 17 years as a SEAL, but being at the top tier level, tier 1, working at Naval Special Warfare Development Group. You just have so many skills and attributes. A lot of guys get out and keep, they never stop, chasing a dragon. They go to Ground Branch or somewhere like that, and or contracting, and they just can't stop. But those of you who go back and start teaching, I don't think people realize how much of an impact it makes in our just communities, right? Because you're not just training military guys, but you're training first responders, and that's just not a direct pathway for that knowledge to make it, or at least a direct channel from the military to be able to train with law enforcement officers, and give them that knowledge. But when guys like you come out, you're able to transfer that knowledge over, and it makes our community safer,
Yeah,
and protect. It saves, ultimately probably saving many lives.
absolutely.
What so you guys do a lot with the active military still?
Some active military, but it's more law enforcement,
Yeah,
and everything from local, state, county, federal, everything in between. And it's eye opening, not only to see what they have to deal with every day. You know, a lot of them are overworked, underfunded, um, and they're doing the best they can every single day. And some of the problem sets they're running into is absolutely amazing to hear that we don't know of
yeah,
what's really going on, especially when you don't have the top cover. But like you said, there's a very deep passion on passing on that knowledge, especially law enforcement. Their transition period from being on duty to off duty, you know, it's not only training on the range and house, but it's like being able to talk about what you're dealing with. Because we never, at our age in the military and those kind of things, you never really addressed it, never really talked about it. But through the years, can only keep it compartmentalized so long till it spills out.
sure.
So, got many of phone calls from teams that we've trained and like call us anytime, and we definitely have gotten our fair share of calls at 2 a.m. whenever, and with officers or teams going through hard times, and they're like, "You answered what we said we would." Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of deep passion, emotion behind it. It's not just a job or something we're trying to sell.
One of the things that I've said this quite a bit. I came from, because I came from, I'm a little bit older than you. I came from a peacetime military originally. Like I went in 1993, and it was almost in before 9/11 happened. It was almost 10 years for me. So like the shifting from a peacetime military to a military that's been at war consistently for over 20 years, 2 decades, a lot changes in equipment, tactics, and so it's obviously a bad thing because you got people dealing with, you have those that have lost their lives and people being killed, just lots of loss of life and injuries and emotional, mental, spiritual tolls of war. But on the good side of it, you learn so much, like tactics change, equipment changes, everything improves. I mean, you go from Humvees, a soft side Humvees with people putting sandbags on the floor to MRAPs. That's a big transition in 20 years. Like what do you think? What are some of the lessons that the military and overall has learned over those 20 years that you've seen?
I think that everything between the evolution of technology and what we thought would work, you know, post Gulf War in Vietnam and being tested again. So the technology and evolution of everything that progressed just from the most basic ground level infantry soldier all the way up to the armor, um, tactics, applications, and mixing all of that of what used to work to current day. Influence and threats, the strategies and approach it, everything from kind of first deployment 0405 all the way through 14 and policies, agendas. Um, it it was amazing to see and be a part of, but like you said, it was like we went from soft skin, no armor Humvees to MRAPs,
Yeah.
and the amount of money that it takes to do that technology, we definitely evolved super fast. But fast forward to today, you got more technology, drones, AI, and everything else, and it's a whole different battlefield. So
Yeah.
you just got to keep evolving.
Well, you guys have extended that beyond the military at GBRS, and I mean, taking a tour today. I got to see the Hydra,
Hydra.
and I've never used one before. I've watched you guys' videos and have been super intrigued by it, and I do plan on going out to the range and trying it for myself. But that's kind of become one of the staple products that you guys have. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So the Hydra's definitely become a staple. It was interesting getting it to the point where we could launch it into the market with it being something so extreme and different. and taking that chance. But kind of rewinding on how it first came up, it was honestly our first product program, if you want to call it, product concept development that we started in February of 2020, and it was based off of some training that was going on where lasers on the rail were being scooted back, so the assaulters could maintain their C-clamp kind of grip
When you say lasers for those listening, like the PEC
yeah, like so
systems.
PEC-2s, Ingol, so they're visual red lasers or IR lasers that you can see on night vision. But the way they were kind of manipulating it at night, they'd have to change their grip and they would obscure their laser. This was another time too when higher risers for red dots were coming online with Unity Tactical, and a lot of people were adapting to it and seeing the benefits. So DJ came in the office one day and was super pissed on how these guys were doing training, and we just started putting risers on top of risers to figure out how we could get the laser high enough where it wouldn't obscure and have the red dot not be obscured either. So, not to make a long story longer, but we went through a napkin drawing, not knowing how to make a prototype to, eventually launching it and understanding manufacturing and things like that. The Hydra created not only freed up rail space, centered the gun's balance and weight, and allowed the end users to actually be able to see the red dot through your gas mask and night vision, which we were never able to see.
Yeah.
So, came out with version 1 and immediately went into version 2.
That was the first thing I thought when I seen it, because I recall, times shooting with the gas mask and trying to get a cheek.
Yeah.
Well, and it breaking the seal on the gas mask, right?
No, yeah, I mean, like us doing training, with gas mask and night vision, you'd never be able to see it. Like we faked it for so long. It was like, if we do this for real, like we got to use a red laser
Yeah.
during the day. I can't see the red dot, and so that's really enabled kind of the end user to be able to have quicker acquisition and be able to be more lethal.
It's the biggest. I mean, for me, again, I haven't shot it yet, so my biggest thought is like I'm losing that point of contact with my cheek on the stock. Is that a big transition for people?
Yeah, so I mean, what came out of that project was not only the optic riser. We quickly realized that there's magnifiers that go behind the optic. So partner with Unity Tactical again, and they made a flip to center for our magnifier to flip up to our optic height at 291. And we realized that because of the raised optic, now your cheek touch points were changing, and started developing a cheek riser that would clamp into specific butt stocks at 3 different heights to kind of give whatever person their ability to customize to maintain their cheek touch point, but also made it short enough to where like when butt stocks are collapsed, you can still fully operate the charging handle. And most factory laser cables are 7-inch, so those are too short for the Hydra to come back, and it's the most single failing item that will happen on a laser. So partner with Unity again, great company, and they make us 10 custom 10 and 14-inch cables. So make it a complete system, and it's literally now all over the world with our partners.
Yeah.
With again, top tier, high end operators internationally. And it definitely makes me happy to give them the capability and
Yeah.
provide it.
I'm pretty stoked by it, and watching you guys at GBRS out shooting it. You're not using the cheek risers, most of you guys, right? You're just head up.
It's individual, yeah. I
It's
mean,
all individual preference.
yeah,
So this sounds like, as we're talking about it, super tactical, like operators, law enforcement, maybe SWAT teams, but this is not a product just for. This could be a home self defense.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of civilians, like I said, entry level to you know super high end tier 1, but entry level, you have the budget for a laser and a red dot. Like, there's a lot of them that put it on and use it.
And for those that don't have a laser, I've seen you guys had a just
Yeah, so
just for the red dot.
we quickly so when we launched Hydra V1 and I started development of Hydra V2, we started getting a lot of feedback from law enforcement of like, we love this optic, love the height, we're never gonna have a laser. So stopped Hydra V2 and switched into a standalone optic mount to provide that height on on different footprints and platforms, um, to provide it for law enforcement, those
Yeah.
guys. So, yeah, it's been interesting and fun to learn how to draw something on a napkin and all the way get it to launching and moving on to version 2, the manufacturing process and design. I realized engineers are not all just engineers. They have specific roles in design and manufacturing and everything else. So it's good. I love it. Every little intricacy of it.
Well, you're not an engineer, you're an operator turned CEO, but,
Yeah.
one of the things you talked about being on a napkin, I noticed when you took us through the tour is that your R&D's place was just a place with a big giant notepad and you were drawing and developing. How'd you? I mean, I know when you're like operating, you're always trying to customize your own gear and
Mhm.
what's going to work best for you in the battlefield. But now you're doing it for thousands, if not millions, of people.
Yeah. I mean, since I was little, I always loved architecture and drawing,
Yeah,
and you know, call it old school. I know there's a lot of programs out there, but starting with a pen and paper and kind of drawing your idea. And it's great now. It's like I can draw the idea and get it quickly prototyped. Um, but I think with the end user experience we have too, you know what people are going to complain about because we got products all the time that were like 90% amazing. But if you didn't spend that last 10%, it was like, like it's great, but it could have been better. And
yeah.
so we really try and exhaust that time because it's like, oh, like they're definitely going to complain about this. So let's take the time and change it. So,
Yeah, I love seeing that. I work with Smith and Wesson and Vortex quite a bit. One of the things I love about those two companies is they take that end user feedback and modify their products. One of the things I always complained about with optics was the gas or the oil getting on the optic,
hmm,
and that Smith and Wesson's new MMP they took that feedback. Myself and Travis Kennedy, who's another he's a former team guy and ambassador. We were talking about that. The R&D guys went in and they made a cut in the back of the right in the back of the chamber that shoots that gas forward and keeps it off the optic. And it was just like
awesome.
really cool to see the end user feedback make it to R&D and then improve the product. So
Yeah,
I think that's super cool.
that's awesome of them.
Um, I I wanted to start. I didn't want to start off there, but I
Yeah.
just we just came back
Oh,
for
good.
but to go from where you are now, being the chief executive officer of this incredible company that's providing this training and equipment for our first responders and just people that are having guns for self defense, even to our military all over the world. Like, where did it begin for you? You grew up here in Virginia Beach, and from what I understand, you had a pretty athletic childhood. Uh, at what point, what was your childhood like here in Virginia Beach? Like, what led you to the military?
My childhood was great around here. I mean, involved in a lot of sports, average student, surfed a lot. Got exposed just to military in general because there's so many large military bases around here.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to run into them. My parents had some military friends. One of the pools that I grew up swimming at when I swam for a club year-round team was at SEAL Team Two's pool on Little
Okay.
Creek. So that was a very early exposure to the SEAL teams, and they do a demo every year. And went there when I was 14, and you kind of fall in love with it and the idea. Um, but childhood was good. It was a good exposure. I got to see all the cool cigarette boats going out of Rudy's when I was surfing. See the climbing wall down the beach.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, as a only child, um, you're entertained a lot by your imagination and what you see. So just a great. I mean, patriotism was a big thing and respect to the country and our freedom, and what we get to how we get to live and the opportunities we have was instilled in me and valued, and kind of always had the patriotic heart.
At 14, that's when you seen that SEAL demo. You kind of knew at that point that's what you want to do, or came later on, or
I always talked about it with my parents, not really knowing what I was saying.
yeah,
Um, Being around it and around some of the active duty SEALs then, it was super cool. 'Cause you're looking at 'em like G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
You don't know really what you're looking at, but you have this idea in your head. I always played around with it when I was little. Um, it wasn't until after high school, after I was working construction during the day and unloading docks at night,
Yeah.
and headed down a path that I didn't really see ideal, that I was like, I'm going to try this Navy SEAL thing. And I didn't want to go to college, but I couldn't be undercover cop because I was too young. I always wanted to be Donnie DeBrasco, that undercover movie, but I couldn't do that. So I was like, I'll try this Navy SEAL thing.
Did you get a contract, like a Bud's contract?
So I was lucky enough. One of my parents' friends that was an active duty SEAL was like, if you're going to go to a recruiter, I'm going to go with you. And
Yeah.
he went with me, like in his khakis, ribbons, everything, and made sure that I didn't get sold down a road that I didn't intend to go down.
Hmm.
So he went with me and made sure that I got signed up. I got a SEAL contract and what was lined up on a pretty efficient path to get there.
Yeah. There's a lot of young, you know, folks that listen to this podcast, and I get the questions all the time about how can they prepare to become a Navy SEAL or a recon Marine or a Green Beret or all these different types of special operations jobs. Like, what can I do to prepare? Do you feel like when you went, you were prepared?
I definitely feel like I was prepared to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
What I would say to myself current day back to when I was going in, or anybody that's looking to go in at that age or at any age, physically being able to move your body weight, having a good baseline
Mm.
of physical fitness. You don't need to be super jacked, but being comfortable in the water and being able to move your body weight around for a good period. Because when you get to buds, they'll physically get you prepped. You'll fall out of shape in boot camp, um, but buds will get you back in shape. But as long as you have a good baseline, mentally tough. I would say like I would encourage that anybody looking to go and how I felt with my capabilities and confidence in going into buds. At a very young age, I realized I could push my body further than I thought it could. So mentally, like I already done it.
Yeah.
Physically, I had already swam a 50-meter underwater swim when I was 12. Like not concerned about it. It's good, but I was confident in my ability to physically push my body further than I think or thought it could go. Um, so that if people can have a good baseline of resilience and challenging your fears, not being afraid of failure, but you can come back stronger. I would definitely say that that's probably some of the top stuff.
I think a lot of young folks thinking of physical fitness, right, and being physically resilient, physically tough. But how does someone prepare themselves to be mentally resilient, mentally tough? Like, what are some things that, like, practical things that some young person could do safely, right, without killing themselves in the process to prepare themselves to be mentally tough to pass something like buds?
I mean, it could be anything. I say as simple as like get into the cold plunge for 3 minutes.
That was what I was going there, but I was letting you say it like that. That's like a mental
Yeah, like
toughness.
you're like, I can't survive 50-degree water for 3 minutes. Well, just try it. I promise you will. And what you should take out of that is like, I can push my body further than I thought it could. And like you might be fearful, but you're overcoming fears. You're letting fear own you, you're owning fear.
Yeah.
Like you overcome that and channel and focus it, nothing will be in your way. Um, take chances, not reckless,
Yeah.
calculated, but take chances and fail and grow from them. Don't be hesitant in making a decision. Make it, know why. Fail, learn from it, be able to explain it. I mean, it is extremely uncomfortable to be in front of cameras. Don't let it own you.
Hmm.
Own that fear and enjoy it.
Yeah. Look at the value on the other side of it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I don't.
that one camera is the most intimidating thing, but the impact of being in front of it is priceless.
Yeah, you're communicating to some young kids right now that'll
Yeah.
become the next generation of DEVGRU
hmm
operators, and so there's value in that, right? There's value, and I don't think anything. I think the most valuable things I found in my life have come on the other side of the most difficult things.
Some of the hardest lessons learned are the most valuable and most priceless.
Yes, yes. So every team guy has their buds story. Buds is such a significant thing for the team guy community. What was buds like for you? Um, and one time through. Uh,
I'll say I was lucky in the sense that I was not rolled back and I passed every test the first time. Um, Luckily, some people exhausted all three times. Some people got rolled.
yeah,
Um,
it's not always your own fault, right? Like the
yeah, just
circumstances.
some things happen
Yeah,
for sure. It wasn't your day or just accidents happen. I still look back at buds and one of the best stories I said it a number of times now is like I would always be thinking about how good the surf was.
yeah,
Buds is gonna start at 7 a.m. It's gonna end at 5 p.m. or whenever it's supposed to end. But it's like once it ends, I was like, I'm gonna go surf. People just look at me, that's crazy. Like the ocean was my happy place, and you know, a mental reset of whatever was going on. Couldn't hurt me in the ocean. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way too much. But I mean, the people, the exposure to all different walks of life. I mean, people that look like they're ready for a bodybuilding contest, 5'5" and 130 pounds,
yeah,
all ages, all backgrounds, and just amazing, super smart people. And the camaraderie ship that was grown together, going through challenging times, and is part of Buds. And I think it's great. Not only enlisted, but officers go through the same training, and it creates a stronger bond.
yeah.
So,
When you finish buds, you go to SQT, and then get all your training and you move on to SEAL Team 10. Correct?
yep. So SQT right after Buds across the street. Originally had orders to Team One, and in Alaska they asked for some volunteers to switch, and I was able to negotiate my switch and went to Team 10 with a handful of guys and DJ,
Yeah.
and checked in '04
So
back
you and
home.
you and DJ went to buds together.
Yeah, so DJ and I,
Nice.
we grew up, I mean, about 30 minutes away from each other. Never knew each other. We didn't meet until Buds. He got rolled back into our class from pool comp, and he he showed up with a 12-pack of Corona and no armpit hair. He was 17.
Okay. Kind
Yeah,
of the you come with a gift, right?
yeah,
If you join in a new class,
yep, yeah,
come with a peace offering.
and great. I mean, just one of those friendships that immediately you kind of know. And it was like, "Where'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up?" I was like, and luckily, all the way through Bud since then, we both went to Team 10, same platoon, all through Team 10. Went to the Green Team together. They had to heartbreak and split us up into different squadrons, but we'd always kind of see each other off and on and maintain that closeness and friendship.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about Green Team and what you can, but first of all, Team 10. Where's Team 10 for those listening?
Virginia Beach,
Virginia. So
Little
you
Creek.
guys came
Yeah.
back
Yep.
home
All
here.
all the even numbers are on the East Coast, but
Yeah,
yeah, him and I both came home.
and you get there for a while.
Yeah, Team 10, '04 to '09, and end of '09. And
And you had deployments there. So
mhm.
was deployments like? Because I know we're going to talk about some of your other deployments, but what was deployments like at Team 10? Where'd you go? What kind of operations did you guys?
All of our deployments at Team 10 were in Iraq. It was a really good schedule that I enjoyed because it was blocks of training. So 6 months of schools, 6 months of training, 6 months of specific training, and the next 6 months of deployment. You knew where you're going kind of leading up to it. So you're prepping all that training, and it's very clear there's no kind of unknowns.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're training for this event,
Hmm.
and going to be the entire team's going to be on its A game when it gets there.
And that event is a deployment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to be in that 6 months. I know a lot of soft commands are on that rotation, and the families can be
hmm
prepared for it too. Like wives, kids could be kind of tied into that cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're lucky enough to have all summer deployments too, so we didn't go
Okay.
through the winter times.
What type of operations did Team 10 do in Iraq?
Kind of throughout the years, we did protection services kind of detail on the prime minister and president of Iraq. And then we did kind of direct action specific target hits, most of the time at night.
What type of targets?
Specific, you're targeting some sort of cell and cell leader or financer or whatever that person is, but essentially you have a mugshot. If you have a mugshot or
Yeah.
an unknown and an intel package um, that had been put together, and then going out there, originally started in Humvees, and then you move to helicopters, pulling, and you talk about the evolution of tactics of like
Right.
going in hot, loud, you know, 90s style to moving more to quiet and ninja footsteps and gear. Um, Not only because of tactics, but the threats and everything in between.
I seen. I mean, I've never been to Iraq personally, but from what I've looked at and studied over the years from Iraq, that the teams were really supporting, like, about a significant amount of very traditional, like, special operations support to the kinetic ground forces like Marine Corps infantry, and really helped empower Marine Corps infantry in places like Ramadi, Fallujah. Were you guys involved in any of that kind of support to the conventional forces?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, I think um, all of those missions had impacts, and because we'd go out at night, the conventional forces during the day, the conventional force would be attacked and
Mhm.
blown up, run into different threats,
Yeah.
and we were able to go out at night and execute the people responsible for them.
Mm.
So really to try and protect them in a sense and get rid of those threats. Um, and there were large impacts in those kind of terrorist networks and stopping kind of some of those threats for the ground forces that were going out every day. I mean, those patrols, it's like they're going on patrols
Right.
and they're doing their job, and g- it was a good feeling, and being able to take out those threats that were I felt, and I think we all felt, ambushing them.
Mm. Yeah. You feel like just being. I'm not sure how big of elements you guys were in. Were you platoon size elements or?
It ranged, depending on the op.
Yeah.
Everything from maybe 10 guys to few more.
Yeah.
And then,
What?
I mean, we got into the partner forces thing as
Right.
well. That started coming on in '07. Um, we're in Fallujah.
Do you always feel like you were the superior? Like you said, coming in at night, you got element of surprise, clandestine operations. You feel like you always had the upper hand.
Initially,
Yeah.
uh, initially, I say early on with the technology that I say that the enemy had, definitely there's a false sense of security when you have night vision that nobody can see you or hear you. And you're
Right.
bulletproof. Um, but I still beg to make the argument that even if they had the technology, we'll still be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Not that we won't have our moments, but we definitely, depending on what it was and what we were doing, felt like we were utilizing the best tactics and element of surprise and not fighting fair. Why there are rules in war, but you don't fight fair in war. In the sense of our tactics, we're not going to give you a fair shake. We're not there for hugs and kisses.
I mean, you. I know you bring a tremendous amount of combat experience. That's what makes what you guys do at GBRS so effective and so valuable. Do you remember your first gunfight, first kinetic combat?
Yeah, I remember the first time shooting my gun like live. Um, and it was a somebody under 18 maneuvering on us with an AK, double tape mag, and a chest rig. Um, and luckily, before he could get a shot off, I did. Um, and that was my third deployment. I didn't fire a gun until then.
Yeah, which is common. A lot of
Yeah,
everybody. I think everybody, like a lot of people listening, a lot of people that hear about the military think that everyone in the military, every time you go to the deployment, like everyone gets in a gunfight. That's
yeah,
just not the reality, even in special operations.
yeah. They picture this like again, whatever love affair of like there was a firefight. I mean, the most successful ops are 0 shots fired.
Yes.
Means you got in quiet, you got the target, and you're leaving and bring them back for whatever questioning until they need. Most successful.
Have it because now you're talking about someone's experienced season, third deployment. You had this encounter happen. How'd that impact you? Did it change you in any way?
No.
It's just
Uh,
like that was your job and you did it well. And
yeah, and I literally, I'll say, gave thanks to my dad taking me skeet shooting.
yeah.
'Cause That's what it was just natural. It was like a skeet shooting lead
Hmm.
with my laser on a night. Like just didn't even think about it. It had been so ingrained and trained, like, and it. I mean, you're in an environment that it's like if you're captured, they're gonna cut your head off on camera. Like, much rather be judged by 6 than carried by 6.
Yeah.
And it's not it's not it's not the shots you take or shots you don't take, but I think because of our training and our decision making and confidence leadership instilled in us, we were very competent, very quick in the most stressful situations to make that decision whether to shoot or not and accurately.
Yeah. At this time too, you saying 2009
That
ish,
was that was '07.
oh 07?
Yeah, it was
Yeah. So
'07.
that you pretty had some, still had some pretty liberal rules of engagement. I wouldn't say liberal, but
Yeah,
appropriate
yeah.
rules of
I don't
engagement.
think it was until 2009. Everything leading up to that was kill capture
Hmm.
until I think '09 was capture kill.
Yeah.
And it started, that was kind of a shift in not tying one of our hands behind our back, but a shift in policy, goals, approach,
Yeah.
winning hearts of mind, whatever it was. And so like that verbiage shifted.
Yeah. That was a big shift. And so you do your, um, how do you say, vanilla teams? Is that's terminology. Is that a derogatory terminology?
I honestly hate that term and just me because it's like people will say vanilla and like they don't mean it disrespectfully
It
or they
sounds like it,
do mean
right?
it disrespectfully. It's like we all started there.
Yeah.
Like it they work hard and there's a lot of talent and people do really good jobs there. Just because they didn't make the decision to go to the next level
Yeah.
is fine, but
Well, it is one of the. It is what
yeah.
be just being a SEAL is one of the premier levels of
Yeah.
special operations in the world.
Yeah, I
So
always call
what's
it
a better
East
term?
Coast. I always just call them East Coast or West Coast teams. Little
Okay,
Creek, San Diego, whatever.
gotcha.
But yeah, vanilla to me is just like,
Yeah, it
such like
sounds
an
bad when I
yeah.
say it. When I say it, it sounds bad. It's like the word when you know when you have enablers. I always thought that was a terrible term.
Yeah, enabler, support,
Yeah,
should I be a comms guy or admin? But
yeah.
yeah.
So when you leave the East Coast teams, what did you know you want to go to Tier One early on, or did you just like one day you decided, hey, this there's a next level?
I honestly didn't know if it was real.
Mm,
When I first checked into Team 10, and I'd probably say for the first year at Team 10, like I didn't know if it was real. You hear rumors, but
it wasn't like it is now. Like everybody kind of it's known now, but back
yeah.
then it was like even to say the words of
Yeah.
the unit was like, yeah,
I didn't know they're like I heard rumors like, well, you have to get they'll email you an invitation. Or not, sorry, not email. They'll mail, yeah, email back then. They'll mail you an invitation. It's like, really? Like, how, like no idea. And
yeah,
until probably a year and a half later of like, oh, okay. And so as I found out more about it and got more exposure to actually real people, um, and talking with them and seeing, it's like, I want to get to that next level.
yeah,
And DJ and I actually put in so you do a special request chit through the military, your command, and say, hey, I want to screen for development group. They approve you, disapprove you, whichever decision it is.
Whose decision is it?
Ultimately, like the CO
Of your
of Team 10, yeah,
yeah.
because it's like you're sort of a representation of the command, and they're not just going to let challenging, maybe less mature people go and be embarrassing. Um,
It was something you and DJ decided together. Like you guys had a
yeah,
conversation. Like, hey, let's go do this. I want to do it together with you.
I mean, we're best friends, mirroring careers, like paralleling the same platoon. He had different responsibilities. I had different responsibilities. And yeah, we were like, we're gonna screen, and we wanted to go in 2008, and so we did the request chit to do the screening. Because if your chit gets approved, you get kind of scheduled to do a screening, and from the screening, you get picked up or you don't. So even if your command approves you, you may not screen positive. So we were set up to do that, and in our '07 deployment, they're like, "Hey, why don't you guys stick around for another deployment?" I'm like, "You're young. We really need your talent. Make more rank, all that stuff." Like, and DJ and I looked at each other like, "Well, if you stay, I'll stay." All right, let's stay.
Yeah.
And so then we didn't screen and do that whole process again until '09, big end of '08, beginning of '09.
Can you say what the screening is?
So there's some physical standards you do, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, swims, runs, oral board, kind of go over your record, psych eval, um, and what you don't see is they basically pass your name around everybody too,
Mm-hmm.
and see if anybody knows,
At the command.
yeah,
Yeah.
at that person or not. And luckily, I had done a deployment with one of those teams the year before I screened, and I took it as like a job interview and auditioned the entire deployment.
Mm. Like, hey, they're watching.
Yeah,
I want to work with these guys one day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, luckily him and I screened, and then basically after our '09 deployment, we went into green team selection in 2010.
Can you say how long Green Team is?
A year.
Yeah, I know it's
Yeah,
pretty commonly known.
yeah, it's a
It's a year.
year. But even then, like, they take probably the top 5.
Yeah, so you could complete the whole year and then it not take you.
Yeah, but it's like the guys that show up for that class, I would consider it the top 5% of team guys in the right age and prime in your group. And you show up, and out of that top 5%, 70% get cut.
Yeah, so it's the top 5% of the top
Yeah,
5%. Yeah,
yeah, and
of the
it's
top
more
30%.
challenging than green team, or more challenging than buds. Because buds, you show up with the right equipment, you do the standards, you know, pretty, I say, easy considered to green team selection of not only do you have physical, but now you have mental stress. You never know how you're doing. You see guys that are better than you getting dropped and cut. And it's not only mental, physical decision making. You just never know where you sit.
Mhm.
And like, am I gonna make it? Am I not? And two, it's a huge chance of failure.
Mhm.
Because if you're going to be one of those guys that gets cut out of green team and selection, you come back to like, oh, that guy got dropped.
Mhm.
Like it's almost one of those things.
Like it's gonna kill my reputation back.
Yeah,
Going back
like
to
you're
you.
going out of a small pond where you're big fish and going into a much larger ocean as a new fish.
Hey, I'm super proud that Smith & Wesson Firearms is a supporter of this show. I have been shooting Smith & Wesson Firearms since I was a kid. This is one of America's most patriotic companies that has been around 170 years. The Resilient Show is honored to partner with Smith & Wesson. I personally use Smith & Wesson Firearms every day for my everyday carry. I keep Smith & Wesson Firearms in my home for my home defense. When I'm out on the range practicing, it is a Smith & Wesson at the end of my grip. So check them out, and I hope you join me in carrying one of America's most iconic firearms. Yeah. What I don't know if you could talk about this or not, but I know the squadron chiefs have a big say in who gets picked at the very end, right? Like they're kind of they're kind of watching the whole time and evaluating, and they're looking at needs in their team. I know at the unit, you could go do the long walk of the unit 1 month, and they'll take a certain group of people that month, and then 6 months later they could take different group of people because of who's selecting and what the needs are at the command at the time? Is it?
I'll say there's certain levels of leadership and experience from all of the teams there that are actively watching.
Mhm.
It's not only a performance fit and capability, but it's a personality fit
Yeah.
because each team has a distinct personality, uh, like our army counterparts too, on how theirs are. Um, but yeah, so it's not only a performance capability fit, but the personality to fit
Yeah.
the team.
Every there's different squadrons there to do different things. Is there? Are you getting picked for your skill set, your ability to fit in that team, and what in that squadron, and what that squadron specifically does? Like, for example, like Black Squadron, obviously is a different skill set than Red Squadron. Are they picking like you based on your, or are they going to train you for what you need to be able to do?
I mean, I look at it as any team, from SWAT to SEAL team. There's always people aging out, like retirement,
Yeah.
next level jobs, pay, responsibility. So like it's not as fast over there, and the turnover and kind of promotions and levels, but it's like every team is required to have certain assets and skills, and it's like bring on a new employee, like you're going to provide them with the assets and training and longevity of what the team needs. And if they see talent and what they want out of you, they'll kind of put you on that path. It's always nice if you really enjoy that path. And one of mine was air, like military kind of free fall, skydiving, different assets of that. But that was one of those things that I got to be on that path there, which was a capability the team needed,
Mm.
because the old one was aging out and everything. So they really give you great training and opportunity and funding, but the expectations, accountability.
Zero fail kind of policy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the accountability, but it was great. The culture, I mean, that was very black and white. You're going to perform and be 100% every time when you show up, zero mistakes, or you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
Doesn't
care.
matter who
Don't
you
care
are.
who you are.
Yeah.
Zero. Don't care if it's a CO or the new guy. Everybody in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the things that, yeah, I've talked about before, but where they're not as an assaulter, but in a support role, and did the clandestine logistics side there, and got to work with a lot of the assaulters like you, and that was one of the things in the culture that I learned right away was they had this zero fail mentality, and they mean it. Like, people talk about it, but I was like, it's very taken very seriously there,
Hmm.
and I was super impressed by that. I mean, going there from coming from the Marine Corps and going there, it's like this is a completely different world.
Yeah.
I remember showing up first of all and seeing some guy with dreadlocks, and then there was another guy seen with he had tattoos on his neck, and he had a gold tooth trimmed out with an anchor and a diamond in the middle of it, like a pirate. Like, this is a whole different world. But then the the from the equipment to the training to the just resources is feels unlimited.
Yeah.
But so you have everything you need to be the best in the world, but the standard is something that each individual has to maintain.
And I think it was really cool too. You were given the opportunity and chance where in this, you know, the East and West Coast SEAL teams,
Yeah,
you think you're looking outside of the box,
yeah,
and it's like problem solving, and there it is, a just mind blowing experience of like I thought outside of the box.
hmm,
These people really think outside the box, and they have the assets, funding, and capability to execute that thought,
yes,
and the freedom and creativity of solving for that solution.
yeah. That was one of the things I was most blown away by, because in my job, that first of all, I thought I was going there. And I'm like, I'm getting attached to the very best tier one special operations unit in the world with all the most resources. And I realized, like, well, I'm not gonna have access to a lot of those resources, but I'm gonna have complete autonomy. And that autonomy was like freeing, but it was also terrifying
Hmm.
at the same time, because we talk about working outside the box. It was like, here's a broad task, and now you need to go out and figure out how to do it. And by the way, don't let us down, because you can't fail. And it was like completely freeing, but this tremendous weight to do the job.
Yeah, when you realize the eyes on you go from the 3-star, 4-star Joint Chief to the President and Congress, and the sensitivities of public relations rely on those decisions. You better have your shit together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an important job. Very important job. So when a guy gets selected, finishes green team, they're deployable right away.
Mhm.
And you're going from now you went from East Coast, West Coast team, a year of training, and now you're going to go into combat uh, with the premier
Yeah, when I
special operations
graduated,
unit in the world.
selection, what was it 2 months later, I went on deployment, first deployment with that team. And you're a new guy again,
Yeah.
you got to prove yourself, and you're definitely on a probation period. Just because you made it through doesn't mean that you made it. You got to pay attention every day. But yeah, 2 months later, deployed and um, got that experience. But there's guys where they've literally finished selection, maybe just checked in a week, and we got to go do something. And those guys are part of it and executed it flawlessly. It's like this is a direct example of not only the selection but the training behind it. It's like they might have gotten a week of training, like with the squadron, and rolled right into a super sensitive thing we had to do and execute it flawlessly.
Yeah. Because the training was done right.
Yeah.
Where'd you go? Where'd you deploy to right away?
Um, Afghanistan.
Yeah, so what was the contrast like between operating and I mean you've been to combat with Team 10 and now you're in combat with development group. Like what's the contrast there? Is it the missions are different, the capabilities are different? Like
I'd say some of the biggest differences between the two are the dedicated assets that you get,
mhm.
um, the sensitivity of what you're doing at a high level. You went from getting the neighborhood gangster to like the international gangster.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's like going from high school football to like the NFL. It's just at such a different level of performance and strategy and experience. I mean, it just people that have been doing it for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
You're you don't even get that feeling anymore of nervousness, like concern. It is perfection at that level. And definitely there are sometimes mistakes happen, but like 99% of the time it is perfection. It's like watching a ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get the best in the world, every asset you need.
Yeah.
But the terrain, I'll say, that was one thing that was great on knowing where you're going. Like, all right, I'm going to the mountains, and being able to physically kind of train and focus that, just gear if you need to, vice kind of a flat Iraq, Kandahar,
Yeah.
urban vice rural, and you're able to kind of prep for that, especially just depending on seasons, weather, temperature. It's all dialed in.
Yeah, like I said, I've never been to Iraq before, but I've been to Afghanistan a lot. And Afghanistan has a lot of different uh, diversity in the geography and
Hmm.
the weather. Some people, I think most people probably imagine Afghanistan to be desert, which is not my experience at all. It was Badakhsh, Jalalabad,
Yeah.
pine forest.
I mean, the Konar, in my mind, is still one of the most beautiful mountain ranges.
Yeah,
Like, sit there for a second, actually look at what you're looking at. I mean, it could be a world-class ski resort by any means.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I worked a lot across on the other side of Fata in Pakistan and where the Hindu Kush, Karakoram, Himalaya mountains all meet, the
Hmm.
three largest mountain ranges in the world. It's you can't even capture it in a picture. It's
Yeah.
just so vast, so beautiful, and unfortunately, I'll probably never see that part of the world again. But it's absolutely amazing, and you're sitting there like most like dangerous environments in the world, but one of the most beautiful environments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a beautiful place. So,
Can you tell us about your comfort level of telling us about one of those operations? What would it have been like to be on a capture kill or kill capture in this time frame mission with as one of the premier operators in the world? Like what would combat be like? And if you have a story or example, an operation that you can share with us.
There was one, there's a couple, but one landed up, up in the mountains, had the world's best pilots, landed on a pretty aggressive slant of a mountain where their rear rotor blades were like maybe 12 inches from it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Or it's like you come out of the ramp and you're going 90 degrees right or left. You run up, your head's cut off in the middle of the night. And the valley over was when June 28th happened, when Red Wing and that helicopter got shot down. And at that point, it was, the worst loss in SEAL history. So that's pretty relevant in your mind. And going over the valley over and going after a very high level target. And, the entire valleys, it's like a bad neighborhood,
Yeah.
but in a way worse environment situation. Entire valley's bad. I mean, you're thinking like, are they going to shoot RPGs? You know, they know our tactics. They know when they hear helicopters. They know theoretically kind of the flight patterns and things. But we all get off. Smooth landing.
Did you do any touch and goes?
No, I mean that's one thing that I took. I won't say I took for granted, but I didn't fully understand their talent until I got into a commercial private helicopter. I was like, and that
Yeah.
that helicopter too, I was like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah.
it was just a little jerky and not smooth. I was like, man, I was like, because those pilots back in the day would just throw those things around so smooth and land right on point. You know, put
Yeah.
a 1 inch circle, they land their right wheel on the back if they needed to.
I just flew with the 160th pilot in a Little Bird yesterday,
It's a good time.
and it's incredible. Those guys are
We got to fly those little birds through downtown Chicago, right over the river, 50 feet off.
nuts.
Yeah. But anyway, so land there up in the mountains, and we're just basically hitting 4 or 5 targets on this path to get this guy, and we had to hit it was just one right after another, and it was a gunfight every target. You see the weirdest shit, animals in kitchens and different things. We were kind of getting shot at from the next ridge over, sporadic, but I call that more recon fire of seeing if they could draw some sort of fire in there. Um, and we finally got to the last target, finished it, and I looked at my team leader. I was like, "Well, are we gonna go hit that one next?" And they was like, "You haven't had enough." I was like, "This is what I signed up to do." Like, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
Like, and we sent a message in that valley. Really talked about, so it was impactful. I mean, it set the groundwork for some Army conventional things that were going on there. And I remember we are getting picked up, and it was right before kind of light breaks, and that was a major kind of go no go. If the helicopters couldn't pick us up before daybreak, we're gonna hang out for about 18 hours.
Yeah.
Um, and so we're literally on this cliff, and that 47 comes down and sets its front right wheel down. The door gunner moves his minigun out, steps down, puts his knee on there. Everybody uses his knee as a stair, jumps in, and we just roll out. Go eat dinner, which is really breakfast.
Yeah.
Just fly out. Um, but it wasn't the last time we were in that valley, and that was a valley and kind of border Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Hmm.
There were a few other nights where we rolled kind of on the border, and you could only really fit 4 people on the helicopter because of the elevation
Hmm.
and the lift. And we'd be getting shot at by Pakistan and Afghan.
Yeah. That's like a Sadabad area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah, that one thing that I learned really quickly from working in Nevada and then working across borders, the Pakistanis are in fact not our allies in
Yeah.
any sense of the word. Yeah,
Depends how much you pay them.
yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
highest bidder,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I try to talk about this a lot, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it and with the difference between conventional forces and the tier one forces when it comes to the FADA area, the federal administered tribal area of what tier one operations did in those areas that conventional forces were not allowed to do. And, um, like, the fact that a lot of operations didn't happen in there, but why tier one, uh, I guess surgically would operate in those areas.
I would say, you know, moving in conventional forces takes such a lift and it doesn't move very quick.
Hmm.
It shows a large footprint. Vice kind of strategically hitting sensitive areas quickly, whether it's an opportunity of somebody in a location and mitigating risk. Um, I say politically and publicly.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I
and the,
haven't
and
really,
the enemy knows that too, right? They
yeah,
know where the conventional's not, and so
yeah,
that's where they're hiding.
yeah. I mean, the signature of conventional moving geographically somewhere, it's a large picture. You can't, I mean, because everybody's somewhat on payroll, even on like forward operating bases that you roll out, even us, they're like, helicopters are taking off or they're leaving the gate. The early warning network was really became a challenge and how to get around that and defeat it.
Would you talk about resources, and that command having the most resources in the world? Do you have any examples of like utilizing some of the resources like vector gunships, predators, like those type of resources on targets, and how effective that evolution of the battlefield was at that command?
Yeah, everything from I'll say ISR, which basically planes with cameras that can have a high resolution. It's going. I'd say call '05 the cameras that had rabbit ears.
Yeah,
And you had to tweak them and smack the TV to get sort of a grainy picture to now 12K. Um, and it didn't matter whether it was daylight, the capabilities of thermal and night vision, um, and other kind of capabilities in those sensors.
and the fact that they could tap into something like Blue Force Tracker, which I'm sure there's something better than that now, but
Yeah, I mean
and know where the guys were.
that was a thing. It was more vehicle than individual, kind of at our time, and where it's evolved to today is probably way more intricate.
Yeah,
Um, but the air stack and part of one of my background at Team 10 was in comms, but JTAC, so Joint Terminal Air Traffic Controller, which means I just controlled the air stack in the air, and if I needed one of them to drop bombs or go refuel and or time it when we're going to be on a target and capabilities, I had that experience and learned that. So everything from DAPS, those 60, basically 60 MH60s with miniguns,
yeah.
Hellfires, 2.7 rockets, all the way up to B1s. It just depended on what you needed and where you were.
Yeah, I think it's hard for probably some of our listeners to even fathom, like the having that capability. You think of like a Army or Marine Corps infantry unit, and which will have a JTAC, but but the capability that command would have on call is just
I mean, for the majority, the AC-130 gunship was a go or no go criteria. We didn't
yeah,
have it, but on what it was, I was like, not going right now.
yeah,
I have that big gun in the sky. And that thing was awesome.
yeah. It's a giant cannon.
Yeah.
It's like with precision accuracy.
Yeah. 105s, 40 Mike, 25 millimeter Gatling gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My son is a Anglo Marine,
Oh, yeah.
and he deployed to Afghanistan and so got embedded with the Georgian infantry in 2019. And the Anglo, the Marine Corps, is essentially like little small 4-man JTAC teams that the Marine Corps puts in as a liaison with foreign services, so they could have U.S. air assets.
Yeah.
So, so that was his deployment. Got to do that, but I mean, I know, in Afghanistan, JTACs way more action on the battlefield than being behind a gun and a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The you got injured several times. Yeah. What kind of injuries did you deal with?
When I first checked into Team 10, we were doing a workup, and we were at Fort Knox at that point at a mount facility. So basically a made up facility for training. And I jumped out of this house window and broke my left leg. Um, Took about 6 months or so. Um, at the end of '05, beginning of '06. Ended up having to have 2 testicle surgeries, and one of them was removing one. Um, I had to have both shoulders operated on in 2013. I broke my right leg in '07 in Fallujah. Um,
Jeez, all that, and then go to green team.
yeah,
Yeah.
after I had 2 shoulder surgeries in, I think, 2014, and then another shoulder surgery in 15. But my first shoulder surgery was when I was 14 in swimming, so 4 shoulder surgeries combined. I broke my legs 3 times and lost one of my testicles.
Yeah, you still have one.
One. It's produced all 4 kids.
It's the wrecking ball.
We fixed that problem now. Yeah, fixed
Yeah.
it.
That's it, man. No jumping injuries because you did a lot of jumping.
So some of the shoulder issues that I had was based around jumping.
Yeah.
When you jump tandems or bundles, the opening shocks. I always, I learned and I always told people, especially when they're going through it, I was like, if you have shoulder problems now, you're gonna have shoulder surgery after.
Yeah.
Just torn labrums, rotator cuff. I got bicep tendinosis, microfractures.
It's the worst. Bicep tendinosis is
Yeah,
like the worst.
yeah,
You think it's your shoulder, but
yeah. So a majority of it was from skydiving in the military, and some of it was just falling
yeah.
at night. You stick your arm down, carrying 80 pounds of gear, and just tearing stuff up.
So I want to talk a little bit about jumping because maybe people in the audience or people listening care about it. I really care about it. I'm super interested. I love skydiving. I only have like I say only for you. It's probably only for some of the listeners. Only is like I got about 600 jumps. I'm a military free fall jumper, and then I got my USPA like D license and coach. I just really like it. It's something I loved. But I've always been infatuated with guys like you that get to do some of the craziest, especially at the command, like jumping bundles, tandeming support guys in, and low vis like drop zones with no unlit drop zones, like that kind of stuff. Like talk about what capabilities are available out there for like jumping bundles and what kind of equipment you could jump in. I guess what you can, right? I don't.
I'd say kind of my skydiving experience and history and background on it is I hate heights.
Yeah.
I I hate heights. And jumping out of a perfectly good airplane is a little concerning. But it was one of those opportunities where I was like, I'm gonna own this fear and not let it own me, and I'm gonna become the most proficient person I can based off of the opportunities that I have. Um, so air really became a skill and hobby that not only I enjoyed, but enabled the team and proficiency. The more I knew and were capable of, and pushing the limits of it, the better it would make the most entry level person and the team. Um, when it got to tandems and bundles, it was kind of just like I had no bad habits. Listen to the instructor; they're the best in the world, and just kind of do it. Um, and at some point too, no matter whether you're jumping by yourself or tandems or bundles, like either you can exit like you own it, or you can get ripped out of the airplane.
Yeah.
So it was always exiting like I own it and not getting ripped out of the airplane. The bundles were definitely different. It's about a 5 foot tall tomato soup can is what we're talking about. And that's what the shape of it looks like. And weights vary, but we'll roughly just say it's a 450 pound bundle. In training, it's 450 pounds of sandbags.
Strapped to you, by the way, for those listening. Like
Strapped to you by like a tether. Um, and it's definitely scary for sure the first time you go out. But I remember the main instructor was like, either you can go out like a man and own this, or it's going to rip you out. One of the two, you're going out of the airplane. Just
yeah, you get
how
500
you want
pounds
to do
tied.
it.
You get 500 pounds tied to you.
Yep,
It's taking you.
going out. And there had been some deaths in the training space and our training space with bundles. So, there's some things that can go wrong and there's some risk. And not everybody makes it through that course either. So it's not just like you do it and you pass it. Like there's still um, standards and accountability that you got to pass. But I really enjoyed it from the first, jump of tandems, bundles, all that stuff. Did it suck having a 300 pound plus dude strapped to the front of you? That wasn't fun, but
Yeah.
the capability it gave you, I enjoyed it, and you're around the world's best.
Yeah. Well, the capability, like you said, is phenomenal. I mean, we talk about bringing 500 pounds in a barrel, or 450 pounds in a barrel. Like what? I mean, what kind of stuff can you get on the battlefield for your team? Like what are some examples of some of that equipment that you could bring in?
I'll leave it vague and just say like whatever is needed for the mission.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
yeah,
heard of jet skis. I have a friend that's jumped the
yep.
jet ski.
Definitely, you can roll up a Zodiac with a motor
Yeah.
and jump that. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, just whatever kind of capability that
Yeah.
the team needs.
It's insane.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you're able to get those things. And what how many jumps did you rack up?
Just about 3,000 or so.
That's incredible. And well, I just said that's incredible because you just took me to GBRS and you had a 97-foot canopy that you said you jumped.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
that's at 3,000 jumps. That's just at your size. That's you were saying what's that two to what
Like
ratio?
two and a half,
That's
2.5
crazy.
wing
For those
load.
listening, that's super impressive. Like Cole is what we would call a sky god to be able to land a 290 something square foot
I mean,
canopy.
it's definitely like getting in. I hate to compare it to an F1 car, but
Yeah,
it's
it's yeah,
it'll kill you really quick for sure.
yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't in that evolution of flying that kind of canopy. Again, we're around the world's best skydivers, canopy pilots. We're not skipping the basics and have a good foundation and keep building on it. The currency, the level of teaching and jumping and learning expedited that curve.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, most military free fall parachutists, which are jumping 370 foot canopies.
300 plus.
Yeah, so you're jumping these big canopies, and as you get used to it, and then you
Yeah. It's like
add,
going from an old Cadillac.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, to F1,
Yeah.
Formula One car, and then or you jumping weight like carrying a bundle, like
Hmm.
that's kind of equivalent, right? Because how big is a canopy when you're jumping a bundle?
400 plus ish square feet.
Yeah, and now
Yeah.
you're having to deal with that thing, the weight of that, and the pendulum.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm guessing it could pendulum.
It can for sure. There's definitely some things you don't do very low, which is dynamic turns. But the wing load on bundles and tandems, even though it's a 400 square foot canopy, the transition of jumping a 96 square
Yeah,
foot canopy is it's just as high of a wing load,
that's what I was
and so
thinking.
it's making you a better canopy pilot.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
in that sense, zero fail. You're
yeah,
jumping that real world for a reason. There's no I forgot excuse. I messed up. Like that's something that needs to go wherever it needs to go.
something I did, and you probably did it in the military, but something I didn't do in the military at military free fall that I did civilian wise was a canopy course where you actually like stall your canopy, collapse your canopy,
Hmm.
and that was pretty scary for me. Like I had never done that before in the military, but you actually like did this canopy course where you toggles down, hold it down till it loses lift, and then it collapses, and then letting it reinflate.
It's scary
But
as
it was
shit.
terrifying, but it
Yeah.
rebuilt my confidence and hit turbulence. Like before I hit turbulence, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
and then I hit turbulence. It's like, okay, this thing it's made to fly. It's made to inflate.
I mean, that's a good example too of being scared but trusting the process. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm way better and understand that like I can get through turbulence, or if my canopy collapses, it's not your first time in a major catastrophic kind of situation.
Yeah, yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
So, you do your time in the Navy. What you did get out early. From when I say early,
Yeah.
17 years, but you retired at 17 years.
Yeah. So I got medically retired May of 2020. Um, been battling it. I'd been battling it sort of if I was mentally ready, if I was really done.
You mean
Um,
for the transition, like you were ready to
yeah.
leave?
Yeah. Like, was I good with what I had done? Do I want more? Does it make sense to have more? Um, But I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm ready, because doctors, therapists, everybody was like, you're kind of fucked up. I'm not fucked up. You're fucked up. And you're used to a deep emotional connection, commitment, sacrifice, meaning, patriotism. And it's like, been doing this for 17 years. After the high school, like, what am I going to do? Who am I? Um,
Your identity is very tied to that occupation.
it can be.
Mm.
Yeah. And like, we all go through our phases. Yes, it is. No, it's not.
For most
Yeah.
guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, identity, community, culture, environment. You're in a bubble. You're
Yeah.
about to be exposed to the real world. Um, that's why I said I was okay with being retired, which is a process in its own. Because once you start doing that, they cut about $15,000 to $2,000 of your pay a month.
Hmm.
So again, you probably go from 85 grand a year to 65 grand a year.
It's all your special duty pays, right?
Yeah.
Like
They don't tell you about that.
which are non-taxable.
Yeah.
So
They don't tell you about that, and it's definitely concerning when you have a new wife, a newborn, pregnant, and your wife's pregnant again, and COVID's going on.
yeah.
But I was lucky that there's a lot of great programs in the military uh, for transitioning,
Hmm.
um, and that'll allow you time to explore what you'd like to do after. As well as I did a moonlighting request yet, which basically you're requesting to be able to have a job outside the military while you're in the military.
Yeah.
And I did that um, when I got my real estate license.
Mm.
So I started doing real estate while I was still in the military and going through medical retirement.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. You're like, I'm your realtor,
mm,
moonlighting at Dev Group.
that was it. Yeah, that was an interesting exposure because I had met some guys that owned a real estate company around here. And I was like, hey, remember that conversation about 6 years ago? I could call you if I need anything. I was like, I have my real estate license. Can I hang it with you? And they had a great onboarding.
Okay.
And obviously, coming from the SEAL team's advice, now you're essentially in sales, handling people's usually the biggest purchase of their life. Was interesting, but I went into it based off my experience of what I didn't like about the realtors that I used,
Right.
and if they cared about what I wanted with the purchase. And so it was immediately successful. Like I was making over 100 grand a year just on the side by doing it.
Yeah.
So the financial security, all right, not really worried about it.
Give you a peace of mind to execute the transition.
Yeah.
At what point did you decide you're not going to do that and you're going to start your own company, become an entrepreneur?
Uh, well, before I started real estate, I started a company with stand-up paddle boards and like a service of like
Okay.
sort of like ski butler but step butler. So I basically kind of just had an idea, called some friends, like, how do I do this? And kind of learn how to do it. So when I was doing real estate, when I got paid commissions, it would go to my company. And so I was just always kind of consistently learning. When I was doing real estate, still going through medical retirement, I helped DJ start the skateboard company that he found kind of through art therapy.
Because you guys kind of transitioned the same time.
Yeah. And he
Okay.
was going through medical retirement in 19 and helped him start the skateboard company. And to prove to him, I was like, you don't have to be a hired gun and go work contract or whatever and get shot and killed. You've done it for
Yeah.
17 years. Like you enjoy skateboarding. Let me show you, at least what I thought.
Yeah.
Um, you can have a life after and hang up your gun. So it kind of came on good timing on entrepreneurship. There was always great mentors I had
Mm.
pushing me to be like, what do you want to do after the military? What do you like doing? I used to always say, I was like, I'd go work for Pyrex. Anybody that has a wife and values Pyrex knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's great containers, but I was like, I'm gonna make the best Pyrex that I could. Um, but I had great mentors and pushed me in my comfort zone and entrepreneurship and being confident. And if I put my mind to it, I could do whatever I wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, you get obviously a lot of skills and attributes and discipline and intentionality, work ethic to
Yeah.
survive at the command you're at. How do you translate those to building something for yourself?
Uh, so GBRS started in TribeScate's office when I was also doing real estate and going through medical retirement. So still in the military, real estate, TribeScate's now starting GBRS. I was searching for something that gave me the same meaning as being in the teams,
Mm-hmm.
the same value, the same challenge, the same impact. Um, but also, like, there's a level of survivability that real estate's great, but not really passionate or enjoying it. GBRS and training is what I know and passionate, like, and business and best friends doing it with, like, and the impact of passing on the knowledge was like way more meaningful.
Yeah, money's not always
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah. Like, don't chase the money. The money's the result of what you're doing.
Yeah,
And somebody, I had a good mentor that told me that a long time ago. Like, don't chase the money. The money is the result of what you're doing. Um, so choosing to start GBRS, I was like, all right, I'm not doing the training. I've hung my gun up. I'll do the back end. I know it the best out of us.
yeah. Hence
Uh,
becoming a CEO.
it's like, um, so, I mean, starting GBRS is just working side jobs, robbing Peter to pay Paul, starting small and cash flowing it, um, utilizing our network and growing relationships. We had a good framework from an old buddy of marketing sense and presenting the brand in a way, and parameters of go, no go, and what we're willing to do and not do. But it was all, I say, partially driven of like, DJ and I only want to make 100 grand a year each and just provide for our families,
Yeah.
and do what we love doing and not have to kind of reinvent ourselves again.
With it, that that transition, there had to be a decision that was made. You're coming from like a life over a decade in the shadows, right? And now you're going to be going on social media platforms, promoting yourself. Some people have a hard time with that, especially coming from where you came from. Uh, and so, was there ever like a decision, like, hey, we're going to have to lean forward and let people know who we are in order to be able to do something good? Because I mean, obviously, you guys aren't seeking self notoriety. You guys are wanting to do something good. So that had to be a clear, intentional decision to do that, to build a brand, because you guys really built this amazing brand.
It was a clear decision, and I say with guidelines of and hard limits of what we were willing to do and not do.
Yeah,
Like, we're not stamping and approving. This is, whatever team approved.
yeah,
It was completely weird and awkward because it's like you go from hiding from cameras, you're not on social media, to like we at least have to have our company be on social media. And probably for the first 24 months, DJ left his face blurred
yeah,
because he wasn't sure if it was going to work out, and if he showed his face on social media, it was going to kind of cut off some opportunities for him.
yeah. Like,
Um,
so it's kind of plan Bs.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, and that actually became a thing on social media. Like, who is this blurred face? Yeah, we said, you know, retired special mission unit operators, but it was vague enough to us. And, you know, we have a lot of value for the teams and people and history and what people have and haven't done in the best light of the teams. So we carry that very closely to us, and never want people to think we're abusing. It's like, it's just our history. That's what we did. Who we are now today is extremely different, and that my history and past profession doesn't define me.
yeah,
Only current day does. Um, but the social media and marketing aspect was definitely learning, and the guidelines that we got from an old friend really set us on a good path. And mix it with COVID and everybody being at home and on social media, it only grew.
yeah,
Um, Started out as training, and it early to, I'd say, mid late 2020. I remember somebody was like, "Hey, like, do you have any T-shirts?" I was like, "T-shirts of what?" "T-shirts with your logo." I was like, "Why would you want a T-shirt with our logo on it?" "Well, it's cool." It's like, "We're cool." we're searching for like scalable, dependable. So we make some t-shirts and we sell out in like 15 seconds, and 40 grand later, we're like, this is scalable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're in the retail line
Yeah. I
business
think
as
we should
well.
explore
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of moved on from there. But it has been failures. It has been growth. It has been heartache. It's been terrible. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
Worked
How many years now?
just over 5.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you work your ass off, but there's nothing more rewarding to not only create something, but have an impact and help and shape people's lives on what it is today.
Yeah. And in the product, like we were talking about earlier, the Hydra product and all the different products you guys have. And by the way, I want to say, because I know there's complete haters out there as well. Like I think, from if it counts for anything, you guys have done a tremendous job as former SMU guys coming out in the public. Like you guys have handled that like perfectly. Like you guys have really like if ethically is the right term for it, but just like with like respect and honor, and that you guys have not abused it and just handled it in a really good way. I always watch how people do different things, and I thought you guys have handled that so well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we talk about it often behind closed doors, and I don't get it. I don't get why people bash other people. I don't like we should be there to help and support each other.
Yeah.
Like,
The veteran community has been the worst about tearing each other apart. It's like if
yeah,
someone becomes successsul, they become a target. It's like why? Like
yeah.
why can't you
Well,
like
it's embarrassing to me because it's like, what example are you setting for the next generation?
yeah,
Like, got a bunch of legit people with a lot of experience and wealth of knowledge, and you're beating each other down?
yeah,
Come on. Like, let's teach people the right thing and set the right example.
yeah, yeah. We're all trying to do. I think most of us are trying to do something good
Yeah,
and continue to be contributors. You guys certainly are. There's
appreciate
so
it.
many veterans out there running nonprofits and just doing great things and just trying to continue to have individual purpose and make an impact.
Yeah,
And too many people are just coming out and tearing each other down just simply because they were successful. If they weren't successful, they wouldn't go after them.
yeah.
So I think that's a couple of quotes that have come off of that. But was there? I'm going to kind of speak to the entrepreneur out there. Was there ever a time that you guys thought you weren't going to make it, and it's like, hey, we just have to grind through this? Like this is harder than we thought. Like, should we pull the plug on this, or do we lean in and see it through?
So there was a time, and I think it's worth covering. Um, January of 2021, our company credit cards were shut off because we couldn't pay the bill.
Mm.
And I saw it coming, so I got another credit card. So at least we could cover bills and certain things. And we're really trying to explore, like, just came out of COVID. How are we making money? Like, we weren't paying ourselves. And it's like, there was never, in my opinion, a time where we're like, we're gonna have to hang this up. Like, my wife got super pissed when she found out, but I completely bottom lined our lease, which was well over $500,000 based on the term. And I literally told him, I was like, I'll stop paying my house mortgage before I stop paying this. And so there was never a point where it was like, I don't know if this can work.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna figure out something, however we need to, and all of our families, our lives depend on it. And like, I don't really care to go to bankruptcy or tell my wife I bottom lined
Yeah.
a $500,000 lease. Um, so no, there. It's just like buds or anything else. Like, challenging times are going to happen no matter how old or young the company is, and you, you learn who's there, really there,
Mhm.
and going to grind it out with you and stay up for 48 hours, and you learn who just kind of says it. Um, but staying tough and getting through it. Every entrepreneur, like, that's the crazy thing. You think you're alone, you're the first entrepreneur. Like, this is just part of a milestone that you all hit.
Yeah. Well, you have a T-shirt or a sweatshirt that speaks to this. Burn the ships, right?
No
There's
retreat.
no plan B.
Yeah, no
Right?
turning back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you don't know the burn the ship story, go look it up because it speaks exactly to what Cole's saying right now. Right? You can't. Right. So all in, all in. Uh, just lean forward and make it happen.
yeah.
do kind of what Cortez, we're going to do what we came here to do.
Yeah.
Win. Yeah. Yeah. So, great lesson for entrepreneurs and those kind of leaning forward to anything, any kind of goal. Um, it's just in general, the show's the resilient show. We talk about, the four pillars of resiliency: mind, body, social, spirit. You have to be mentally tough to overcome, life's challenges. Physically, you got to be healthy. Socially, connected with the right people, surround yourself with the right people. I personally am a believer that one of the most important things you could have is a strong spiritual foundation. Can you speak to, any or all of those, as far as lessons of resiliency you could pass on to the listeners?
Um, so I would say I'm religious in the sense that I identify with being a Christian. I'd say I'm non-denominational. I don't
Mm,
really go to church, but believe there's someone up there. I like the saying when people pray for success or patience, don't expect it, expect the opportunity to develop it.
yeah.
Mental resilience, I think some people can be born with a level of it. Some people can't, and you can develop it. And a lot of resilience comes from challenging times, whether you think you can't get through it or you can't make it. And it just builds up your confidence and trust that, like, even if I fail, I know it's going to be okay. Physically capable, whether that's physical strength or physical in a team, um, trust, communication, um, and it all ties together, and they all kind of flow, in my opinion, of how much physical energy you have, vice mental, um, how much time you have, and priorities, um, and how that kind of all plays out. Like being a father, um, and the success, the failures, the wins, um, the sacrifice can't be what you want as a father based off of what you're willing to sacrifice
Yeah.
for success, even if you're trying to ultimately provide for your family. Well, you tie it in across professional, um, and personal. It's something that can be developed by everybody, and it's really important. And being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I've always kind of stuck to it. As long as I'm okay with my reflection in the mirror, I'm good. I don't need anyone else's approval.
You've had a pretty crazy journey, done a lot, but life is a journey, so it's not over. And I know for me personally, like, I'm still learning and growing every single day, and figuring stuff out. Is there anything like right now, like where you are in your life right now today, do you feel like you're lacking, like areas that you're really feel like you're, having to invest in?
um, I'd say areas that I'm lacking in or missing. Missing retirement? um,
Yeah, that retirement thing's kind of not what it,
yeah,
not the proper
chasing that.
definition of the word, right?
No, I mean, I think it's something I've been chasing for a long time. Um, it would probably be approval.
Mm,
Mm, like approval of being good enough.
yeah.
Um, and I think, at least me internally, emotionally, physically, mentally, I'm trying to prove it in performance where it's unarguable in success. To maybe think that's what'll make me feel approved and good enough.
Man, I could really relate to that. Even when you said it, like I didn't expect it, and sticks pretty deep in me because I didn't know what it was called till I was actually in the opposite seat, sitting and Sean Ryan interviewing me. He's interviewing me, and I get really insecure sometimes when I get interviewed on some of these topics because a lot of times people start like building up my resume, and I like feel real insecure because I feel like I'm being exposed, and I know myself, and I feel like what he called imposter syndrome. Like, I just never felt like I deserved to be where I was, where it's always made me work harder. And then I just, but I was always chasing something. And so I hear this like list of different kind of a resume, right? And I'm like, one time I went on a radio show and they were reading it, and I'm like, what? How's that make you feel? Like they read this whole bio and my long bio, and at the end of it, I went to like climb under the chair. And he's like, how's that make you feel? Like hearing all the stuff you did. And I'm like, it makes me feel like someone that's been just completely discontent, like never feeling like I achieved anything, never feeling like I was enough, and I was chasing like the next accolade, trying to prove something. And and I feel like I've got control of it somewhat, but there's something still inside of me that always feels like this insecurity of not being enough. And I see that in a lot of I didn't see it not previously, but now I'm seeing a lot more of guys that come from places like we came from that just chasing something.
I don't think we're only limited to our group. I think a lot of high performing individuals are chasing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like it gives you extreme attention and dedication for what you're chasing, whether you can define it or not. It's like, and if you were to ask me, like, well, what do you have to accomplish to get that feeling? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, for me, we talk about the different pillars of resiliency. I think for me, that's why I landed, and I feel like I landed on solid ground in the aspect of faith, like my Christianity. Like I felt like something was missing that I didn't find until that, because I think I was able to separate identity and purpose from being a self thing through my Christianity. Like I felt like it became like a thing for myself to a thing for others, and that's where I kind of found that for me, and my life really turned from like a very selfish life, self-serving, which people always like, thank you for your service and stuff like that. I'm like, actually, that was all about me.
Yeah.
like I wanted to. It was a lot of it was self-serving, like,
It's
and
yeah, most selfish. I mean, it requires it. That's all.
yeah,
I'm like, thank the wife.
yeah,
Thank them.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now, like, at least I've tried in my best of my ability now to make it about everything. Every decision I make is about others. Like and Mighty Oaks, my foundation is like a big foundational part of that. Like for me, like if I get asked to do something like be an ambassador for Smith and Wesson, run this podcast, do the Shadow Figures TV show, like I'm like, how can I take that and not make it about me and turn it around to invest in something that's impact other people? So every one of my decision criteria is always that now. Like yes or no is based on like, is it about me? Is it about Chad? Or is it about other people? And I feel like that's really helped me manage that insecurity I've had inside of me by just turning that from self to others.
I mean, there's a topic too. So I literally go see a therapist every week.
I talked to mine this morning.
Yeah. Shocker. I'm
Yeah.
sure people are like, why do you see a therapist? Trust me, it's healthy. It's okay. Um, but she brought up the question. She's like, great, you do stuff for other people. You kind of put it in front of your needs, and that's a priority. But at what point do you look back and realize like you got to take care of yourself? And then at what point you're like, how do I even do that?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm wrestling around with these days of like, I don't even know how to. I'm
Yeah.
going to figure it out. But it's like, oh, yeah, like I probably should take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, when you put your needs in front of, or everyone else's needs in front of yourself and sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
everything, including yourself, gotta have some me time.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, like I said, I spoke to my therapist this morning, and that's one of the topics she said I went all the way to the other end. Like I was feeling I was super selfish, and now like everything went to serving, and I'm not really. There's not a lot of self care there for me, and so she's kind of giving me that talk as well. And I haven't found, confessingly, like I have not found the balance of that yet. I'm working on that,
Yeah.
and it is a journey. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll figure it out in this lifetime.
Hopefully bounce some ideas off you. Yeah, something.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you know, I think people wouldn't expect that from where you are in your life, and I'm the founder of Mighty Oaks. Like we've served over 500,000 people at Mighty Oaks, and they think I'd have it figured out, but it's all the journey. We're
It's
learning.
crazy to me. I haven't heard anybody say this, like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm 100% confident there are a shit ton of other people that feel the exact same way.
Yeah. And they feel alone in it, maybe, right?
Absolutely. They feel like they're the only people going through it, and definitely there's lonely parts of it.
Yeah.
But I have to figure out some ideas.
We're all going to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, post it and show people the roadmap of how we took care of ourselves again.
Yeah,
After
exactly.
forgetting.
Hey, I think one of the things that taking care of ourselves is doing what we're doing, and admitting it. Like I see the therapist weekly. Like,
Yeah.
it's I mean, and before I thought like one, I would never thought I'd want to see a therapist, especially after doing the VA thing.
Yeah.
That I never want to see a therapist, and certainly thought I would never admit it. I was really worried of admitting it as the founder of Mighty Oaks. I thought it would discredit Mighty Oaks, but I don't feel that way at all now. I think it's actually giving the right advice that I should be giving to people. Like, hey, see a therapist, get a mentor, invest in others too, but invest in yourself. Like,
Vulnerable and genuine, and that can't be faked.
no, no, absolutely. With sons, your husband, father, where you're at right now with your in your life, would you ever steer your sons towards or away from a career in special operations?
If any of my kids wanted to go into special operations, I'd fully support them. I would have a very honest conversation with them based off my experience and at whatever point in history they're looking at going.
Yeah.
I'd 100% support them, and there'd be no doubt in their mind of my support. But I very clearly say, like, hey, the end result may be you dying or your friends. Here's my take on if you want to have kids in a marriage, the struggles and challenges you're going to go through.
Yeah.
But the wins too, of being a part of a team and community like that, the rewards. I'm not saying I wouldn't wish that for him. I'd just be very honest with him and tell him I'm here for you. Be holding my breath.
Yeah. Here's what it is. Here's what it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely not the book not the book cover that reflects what's inside.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I want to close with this because I'm so impressed by the company you and DJ created. What the for you individually, I'm guessing you're in your 40s now.
41.
41.
41.
So yeah, you're 41 years old. You built this amazing company pretty quickly, and you're not going to be around forever. I think this company will probably uh, extend past your working career. What would you like to see as an individual this company do? What the legacy of this company to be?
I'd like it to continue on and keep its mission. Uh, Recently this year, because I always get the question, even my parents, they still don't understand fully everything we do.
Yeah,
They're like, "What do you do again?" But really, in my opinion, is like, what does GBRS do? It saves lives,
yeah,
and to be able to keep that mission and impact, um, forever. And I mean that in like how do we save lives? The workout subscription. There are so many stories of people that needed that push and motivation to become healthier, get off the couch. The conversations that we openly have of failing, um, and so the public and people can learn and say, oh, okay, like I'm not the first person going through a divorce, and I'm working 200 hours a week. Um, I say the cutting edge gear, always evolving our products based off of technology and evolving from that, and providing training resources to everybody that puts their life on the line for our freedom,
yeah,
um, and giving good opportunities to our employees and veterans and first responders, and a stable kind of off-road ramp, for their next chapter in life, and helping other entrepreneurs, younger people, generations improve. Like, you put your mind to it, you can achieve anything. We
Yeah.
talked about hard to kill.
Yes.
It's not a physical ego thing. It is a mindset that if you have a dream and a vision, stick to it. There'll be people that say you'll fail, you can't make it, your best friends, parents, who knows? Stick to it. Like, keep that mindset. Like,
Yeah.
you're capable of anything. I promise, just hard work.
Yes. I love it. Love it. Well, Cole, love what you guys are doing. Thankful to have this conversation with you. We have some amazing sponsors for the Resilient Show that do some great things uh, for the communities. But one of the things they do is help keep the show running. So I want to definitely acknowledge them. I'm sure you shot some Smith & Wessons before, Smith & Wesson, Vortex Optics, Gators Eyewear. I'm looking behind you, Uncharted Supply Company. I don't know if you heard of them yet, but they do some
I know.
incredible
Yeah.
gear. Yeah.
We met them back in 2020. It's crazy.
The stuff they're
Yeah.
doing, the go bags,
Uh-huh.
the 72-hour go bag for families is like, I'd love to see every family in America have those bags.
Yeah.
We have a Allied Wealth Management and a Bioaccelerator. I don't know if you're familiar with Bioaccelerator, stem cell company down in South America.
Okay.
They're in Colombia.
All right.
I just got back, and it's just I've been there a number of times now, but it's incredible. Like, especially for some of the injuries. I'm hearing you talk about some of your injuries and stuff like that. Like, completely, like, I don't want to put down any stem cell companies here in the States. I would just say it's different. What they could do there is totally different than what they can do here. And I walked away, like, both times just feeling completely, like, revitalized. Like a decade was knocked off my life.
Let's talk more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want to talk to you offline about that. But yeah, Bioaccelerator, stem cell company, and also BioPro. I know you get Eddie on your staff. Like, Eddie Gallagher came on my show before, came on this show before, and I gave him the BioPro product because I'm a believer in it. And he is like, and now he's like, I think at least once a week he's promoting BioPro. It's some incredible product, which is like a all natural human growth hormone supplement. So I'm gonna get you some of that. Because I'm on the road, I didn't have any with me, so we'll get you some BioPro. I got some. We'll get you some Gators eyewear, and I don't have a. Obviously, no matter what, I wouldn't have a gun here for you, but this is my everyday carry, my EDC, which is Smith & Wesson Equalizer. And we're going to let you go on Smith & Wesson's website, pick a gun, pick a Vortex Optic, and we'll get it out to you through your FFL. You guys have FFL?
FFL 7 SOT2.
Yeah, so we'll get it. We'll send it right to yours. So
No,
that's my EDC.
Thank you.
And yeah, I love the Equalizer. Whatever you want, we're going to get out to you.
Run.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You bet, brother.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Well, those of you listening, if you have not yet done so, like, subscribe, comment, follow, share, all that stuff. We definitely need you to help us get the word out because we are trying to reach as many people as we can with amazing messages like we just heard from Cole. We also want you to go visit our Patreon, just like GBRS. Their Patreon keeps them going. The Resilient Show's Patreon is going to be bringing so much more content. The tour we just got from Cole at GBRS is going to be on our Patreon. So you can see some behind the scenes stuff of what's going on there. Below in the show notes, we're going to have all the links to GBRS and all the great stuff that Cole and DJ are doing over there. But please like, follow, subscribe, comment, and get on our Patreon. Love you guys. Thank you, and stay resilient. Hey, what's up, Resilient family? I am so grateful for each of you who tune in every week to hear our episodes. We have such incredible guests and topics that I am passionate about, our team's passionate about, and we could not do it without you. So we're thankful for you. We love you. We appreciate you locking arms with us to be more informed, to become a more resilient community. And I want to invite you to become a tighter part of that community by joining us on Patreon. If you go to our show notes below, you can click the link and get dialed into our Patreon and get extra content weekly. You can join for $15 a month and get behind the scenes footage, get closer access to me. I have monthly Zooms that I'll be doing with some members of the community. And so we'd love to get more involved. Again, go below in the show notes and click the link and join today.